I've got one for you.
Yeah,
You want to hear it?
let's go.
Okay, so I graduated from college in the mid 80s. And when I went to college, I went with a friend from high school and we roomed together. So this would be 1986. So I went off to college. I had a roommate who was about 2 to 3 miles from me back home. Um, so we had winter break, and we both went home. And I worked over that month period. And one night, my parents went. My sister had a band thing, so they went out of town. They never went out of town, so I was home alone, which was extremely, extremely rare. Exactly. Extremely aware. But, I needed to work, so, and I was working like 60 hours a week at the time because that's what you do when you're going to college. You make a bunch, try to make as much money as you can. So one night, I'm trying to get to sleep, and I grew up in the country. There was nothing. All you heard was the frogs in the lake next door, the croaking of the frogs, and then when it was light out, you would hear birds. Total silent. It was cornfields all around. There was nothing. Just the road, and we sat way back. I grew up on 3 acres. We sat way back. So it was quiet. You could hear anything. So I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm hearing this humming noise outside. Like a humming noise, say like a mercury light that hums, or a ballast is bad, like that noise. But we didn't have any lights outside, neither did the neighbors. The houses were far apart. And I'm hearing this humming noise. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I couldn't get to sleep. And I'm like, am I imagining that humming noise? So I was compelled enough to get up and look out the window. And when I looked out, I'm looking around like, where's this humming noise coming from? And I look up, and there's a light in the sky. And not just a light far away, but I would say probably about the half the size of the moon. It was bright, and it was pretty big. Now I couldn't tell you how far away it was exactly, but I would say relatively close. And I'll tell you why in a second. But this light started doing this sort of thing, like moving across the sky, lickety split. It did it, I don't know, half a dozen times, maybe 10 times. And so I'm looking out, and I was scared crapless because I'm like, the aliens are landing. I had no protection. I was out there alone. So they could have literally landed in the front yard or on the side, came in and got me, and nobody would have known because that's how remote it was. So I'm seeing that, and I'm thinking, gosh, I must be so tired that I'm seeing lights moving around and buzzing noises. I must be that tired. So I went to bed, didn't say anything to anybody about it. I thought to myself, my mind is playing tricks on me. Went back to college. About a month or two later, the topic came up with my roommate about UFOs. And I said, yeah, I saw something strange. And as soon as I said that, his face went, when I said I saw something strange over the winter break. It goes like that, and all of a sudden he gets really serious in his face. He says, well, what did you see? And I said I saw a light that was bouncing around, and I kind of was vague about it. And he's like, well, that's really interesting because one night my girlfriend came over to my house, and she was tired and she didn't want to drive home. And it was a couple miles away, and he ran cross country. So he drove her home. She happened to live about a mile from me. And it was warm out, and he runs 3 to 5 miles easy cross country. So he decided to run home. And as he was running home, he saw the exact same thing that I saw. But he was outside. And I was like, when I said about the light stuff like that, I purposely was vague. I said, where did you see it in the sky? So he told me what road he was on and which direction he was, and I knew the road, which direction he was running. And he said he stopped dead in his tracks when he saw this. And he told me where it was in the sky. And doing the triangulation, it's exactly what I saw. So there's two people independently who saw the same exact weird bloop, bloop. And it was over a period of like 5 minutes. And he said the same thing. And he said, I have no idea what it was, but it was a really loud hum. Of course, he was outside. I don't know what to make of that. Because back in 1986, there weren't drones. And even now, do drones go bloop, bloop, bloop in the sky? I don't know of anything that would do that at midnight in December in 1986.
So what you're saying is he corroborated your story. Was this at the same exact time you were seeing it? He was seeing it also. These were two.
But it came up in conversation like probably a month or two later.
Okay.
Because, we had gone we had gone home, then we came back to school and, we went on about our business, and it just happened to come up a conversation where I think even it was someone else mentioned UFOs. And I said, yeah, hey, that reminds me, I saw a weird thing over winter break. And if that conversation had not came up, him and I wouldn't have had that conversation, and I never would have had any sort of another person, a person who I trusted at the time. And if Todd, you're out there, I'd love to have you on. And I'd be curious if you remember that story, because I still remember it all these years later. And we got collaboration independently. Same thing, same experience. His was even better because he was outside seeing it, hearing it. So I wasn't overtired and I wasn't crazy. So that actually made me feel better that at least in one case I'm not crazy. But
what were the lights? Were they bright white lights, or were there multicolored, or white?
Just white.
Okay.
Just a simple white light. It's almost like if you took a night light, like a light you have outside, and was up in the sky. It was about half the size of the moon, maybe a third the size of the moon. It wasn't a little pinprick right away. It was definitely I don't want to say a globe or an orb, because I was looking at it through a window. So it's hard to say.
And that's the only time you ever saw it when you lived down there, or?
Never saw anything before. I can't think off the top of my head ever seeing anything since, but having someone else independently seeing the same thing. Now, maybe someone watches this and they're like, yeah, I remember back in 1986 seeing that. I mean, maybe a classmate of mine happened to be out there, but you would have had to have been outside, but it was loud enough to get me out of bed. Just this humming noise. It's weird. So what do you think?
Well, you guys weren't at happy hour earlier that day, or out sharing a blunt after band practice. So I think it's pretty, whatever you guys saw it sounds legitimate. And then you have to ask yourself the question, was it something ever otherworldly, or, you don't hear a lot. Like, it's funny, you and I have, our accounts of these things include noise, like a louder noise or a steady noise that's very audible. A lot of these accounts, it's like a stealthy thing where people don't hear anything.